Live from Kansas City, it's Comic Book Late Night with Captain Logan. Featuring thoughts on comic news, obscure character of the week, and a little something from the comic vault. And now, here's your host, Captain Logan.
Hello everyone and welcome once again to Comic Book Late Night. I'm Captain Logan. Tonight we have a really exciting show for you. Tonight it is a Tick-themed show. Nearly everything we're doing tonight is related to the Tick because it's still Tick Month, but more importantly because we have an exciting guest. Tonight we're going to be talking to Benito Cereno, who is the writer for the new Tick series for New England Comics, and he's going to come on and talk to us a little bit about the Tick 100, which just hit stands, I believe, this week, and we're going to talk to him for a full half hour a little bit later. Right now, I'd like to introduce my esteemed co-host. First of all, of course, it is the very amazing and talented Tim Lyons.
What's up, y'all?
And, of course, Gloria the Dinosaur, our official chat screener.
Hi, how's it going?
So, the first thing I wanted to mention is this last weekend, Tim Lyons did one of his very favorite things. Tim competed in a karaoke contest. And Tim, tell us a little bit about your karaoke contest.
Last week was actually the finals. So we had gone through the qualifying rounds, semifinals, and then last week was the finals. It's through the company Ultimate DJ and Karaoke. Apparently there were something like 2,000 chances for people to get into the finals if you count the qualifying rounds. And Gloria and I were both in it. Yes, they do let dinosaurs into karaoke contests, and especially if they're doing Michael Jackson. So that was pretty fun, but yeah, I sadly lost. And so did Gloria.
Yeah, and I think he was completely and utterly robbed, and so I want to give everybody a chance to see just how robbed he was. I'm going to go ahead and show a clip of Tim's performance.
Oh, God.
Here we go. I never tell Tim about this kind of stuff. I just,
of course not.
You know, Tim, I love you, dude, and I want everybody to see your incredible talent.
You forgot the air quotes around.
All right. Here's a clip of Tim's performance this last weekend.
Yeah, sing with me, sing for the year, sing for the laughter, sing for the tears, sing it with me, it's just for today, maybe tomorrow that you're gonna take it away. Yeah, dream on, dream on, dream on, dream until the dream comes true.
So that's Tim Lyons. Tim, I can't believe you didn't at least place. What'd you do, fourth?
Yeah, it was fourth according to the one of the people who ran the thing. But I don't know. It was weird being out there in front of that many people just doing a karaoke thing.
Yeah. Now, how many people were there?
Gloria, what would you say? How many people would you say were there? I know the capacity of the place is 750 or something like that.
Yeah, I would say about maybe 500.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. Well, that would be enough to make me nervous.
Yeah, I don't know. Not so much nervous as just I wasn't used to the sound there. That's the first time I'd actually done any music there. So, having the monitoring system and having the track lower than I'm used to, and the microphone felt different and everything. It was weird.
Yeah, sure.
The competition aspect freaked me out a lot more than that many people being there, by far. So.
But yeah, Tim and Gloria and I go out to Hurricane Alley's out here in Kansas City. A quick plug for them. Every so often, well, they go quite a bit. I go 2 or 3 times a month, and we go out and sing karaoke, and it's a good time. And anyway, I thought I'd let people into that enjoyable part of our lives, Tim.
Gotta love that.
Now it's time for this week's Know Your Batmobiles. Here is this week's. Okay, I don't know what's going on there with my sound, but anyway, hopefully we don't have that going on all night. Yeah, I had the sound set up. I'm not sure what that was about. Anyway, that Batmobile was from 08, 10, or 12, and I'll show it to you one more time, and you can decide what year you think that is, and when we get to the end, we'll show you what the year was for that Batmobile. Here it is again. And now it's time for this week's trivia question. Today's trivia question is quite exciting because we're doing a couple of fun things with it. Today's trivia question is, let's see if this works right. Wow, okay, this is being very, very strange. If everybody would bear with me just a second, we're having some technical difficulties, and we'll be back with you in just a moment. Okay, we're back. Thanks for everybody's patience. And now it's time for today's trivia question. The trivia question for today. And before I tell you what the trivia question is, have your hands on the keyboard, because whoever gets tonight's trivia question, tonight's tick-related trivia question in honor of Benito Cereno, right, is going to win these 2 comic books. You're going to win the Tick Looney Bin number 3. Isn't that just the most disturbing picture? Okay, and you get the Tick number 10. The Tick number 10. So I'm going to send these 2 comics to the winner, and here is the trivia question. Tonight's trivia question is, what is the Tick's favorite sandwich? That's the trivia question for this evening. Whoever gets it right first is going to win these 2 comic books, and we're going to do something different tonight. We're going to reveal the Tick's favorite sandwich right away, as soon as Gloria the Dinosaur has the right answer. Did somebody get it, Gloria?
Yes, in fact, I did.
I have not stamped. I have not stumped him yet.
Zach Cody.
Zach Cody. Okay, I'm not familiar with that person. Yay! Well done to you. You get these 2 comic books. Just send me a personal message on Geekvolution. Send me your mailing address, and I will be sure and get these 2 comic books to you. Just send me whatever information I need to do that. Tim Lyons is going to reveal the answer to the trivia question. Tim?
Hang on, man. I gotta eat the sandwich here. It's a big old city, man.
The correct answer is indeed a BLT.
I have a massive mouthful of sandwich.
And it's time now for today's video of the week. I wanted to promote something Cartoon Network's doing, and I know I'm flipping out that I'm promoting something Cartoon Network's doing, because I haven't cared for much of what Cartoon Network's been doing for the last several years. But Cartoon Network is bringing back Cartoon Planet, and they've been doing this for the last few weeks. And what it is now is it's this block of old shows, mostly from the 90s. They're bringing back Powerpuff Girls and Dexter's Laboratory and some shows like that. And in between them, they're doing new Brack and Zorak segments, which I'm extremely excited about. And so in honor of that, I'm going to show one of Brack's brand new songs, and it's the Pizza Song. Here we go.
This is the pizza song. The pizza song. This is a song about pizza, all about pizza. Pizza. This is the pizza song. This is the pizza song. I said that this is the pizza song. When I sing a pizza with lots of pizza, then you know you heard the pizza song. Pizza song, it's a pizza song. Pizza song, pizza. I sing a pizza, yeah. 'Cause it's a song about pizza, yeah. Hey, there you pizza song. You claim the glories of pizza song. When it looks like a pizza, smells like a pizza, then you know you heard a pizza song. Bum. Hey, DJ. This is the pizza song. The pizza song.
Okay, I think the Pizza Song started over. And now, it's one of those things where you couldn't tell, yeah. I could have looped that 3 times and people would be like, wow, this song's kind of amusing, but I don't know why they're still playing. Okay, now it's time for today's fan art. Today's fan art is something I found on my own from DeviantArt. This is a cool picture of the Tick by Nightwing 1975 from DeviantArt. I think this is a really awesome kind of animated series looking Tick. I want to show that off real quick. And now it's time for the news. our first order of business tonight is apparently there's going to be no Incredible Hulk 2. It looks like all of the Marvel Studios movies are getting sequels except for Incredible Hulk 2, according to Kevin Feige this week. And that makes a lot of sense because it didn't make a lot of money. So I'm sure that's the reason. Anyway, that's all I have to say about that. Robot Chicken is doing a DC Comics special. How exciting is this? Apparently partially make fun of New 52, some stuff like that. In the vein of their Star Wars specials, they're doing an entire DC Comics special. This news came out this week. And apparently part of this is because Geoff Johns has written for Robot Chicken before. And for those of you who or Tim Lyons and don't know who Geoff Johns is. Geoff Johns is one of...
Who's Geoff Johns again?
It's one of DC's biggest writers. He does Aquaman right now, but he did Flashpoint. He's in a lot of their events and things like that. But anyway, so and he's like one of DC's big heads. And anyway, so he's been involved with them for a long time, and I think that's part of why they're doing this. I'm excited. I think it's going to be hilarious, and so that's kind of fun. What else have we got going on? There's a new Walking Dead video game coming out. This is going to be a download only for PS3 Network and also for computer, and it's not going to be on 360 as far as I know. It's going to be one of those like downloading by episodes kind of games. I think there's like 5 episodes, and you download each one when they come out. Tim Lyons, how do you feel about games like that are like download only, and then you have to buy the episodes?
You know, I kind of go back and forth on that because from what I understand, the Back to the Future game was really cool that way. You know, I've only played part of episode 1 on that one, but I want to get the rest.
Was it good?
Yeah. If you like old school adventure games,
yeah,
you know, then it's pretty good. It's
That's
like
what made me
they
unsure
tried to
about
update that formula a little bit, so the controllers are a little bit different on like the PC version. You know, but you don't just click around to walk. You have to like click and drag apparently. So I've only played it on the console though. But yeah, that was cool. I didn't have a problem with that. Sonic 4, I kind of had a problem with that going in episodes. That doesn't seem like a very... I mean, the games are kind of episodic, but, you know, you just have the expectation because there's that previous material. You've got all those previous Sonic games where you just buy it once and you get the whole game.
Not only that, but wouldn't you expect, usually an episodic kind of game, it would be episodic because of story?
Yeah.
It's Sonic.
Yeah.
You know, and it's side-scrolling Sonic. It's not even story Sonic. Plus, it took them forever to put out the second one's not even out yet.
Yeah.
I mean, we're still waiting on it.
Yeah.
It was a year ago. More than a
so
year
that's
ago.
the problem that you run into with some of the games, like some of the properties like that, where maybe they're going by episode because they don't have the money to make the full game, and then you might not get the full game ever. You might not ever see the full Sonic 4. So who knows?
Yeah. So, anyway, so that's happening for you Walking Dead fans. And the next thing I want to talk about, of course, is Free Comic Day. Free Comic Day is May 5th. It is the first Saturday in May every year, and this year is no exception. May 5th. And I wanted to, just a quick plug, I wanted to mention that for anybody who happens to be in the Kansas City area, Vince and I are going to be at Vintage Stock this year on Metcalf. That's where we're going to be. But I also wanted to put out a plug for Elite Comics because they're doing some really cool stuff. I'm hoping that I'll have a little bit of time to head over there at some point also. And actually, they offered to host us also, but we talked to Vintage before we talked to them. So we're going to be hanging out at Vintage, which is really exciting. And they've been trying to build up their comics more too. So I want to really support them on that. But Elite is going to have Jason Aaron, and they're also going to have, I think, the Iron Man suit and the War Machine suit that were at the Planet Comic Con a couple weekends ago. I saw these guys walking around in these awesome, just boss Iron Man, and you missed the pictures because you weren't here that week.
That's right.
I showed them on the show, and it was just super cool. And apparently those guys are going to be there, and I think they're also supposed to have the '60s Batboat there also. So they've got this massively cool stuff going on. So anyway, lots of fun things to do in Kansas City if you happen to be in the area. And if not, of course, be sure to check and see what the local comic stores in your area are doing. And now I want to show off a few of the comics that you can get on Free Comic Day. Remember that they split these off like gold, silver, and I think there's even like a bronze category. And what that means for your comic stores is the gold ones are what most of the stores are going to have. And the silver ones, not everybody has. So I'll kind of distinguish those. I'm not going to show you everything that's coming out because, I mean, what's the point? But I'll show you some of the things that people might be kind of interested in. So obviously the big ones, the DC and the Marvel ones. So predictably, Marvel is doing an Avengers one. This is Avengers Age of Ultron .1. That's Marvel's big one. DC is doing a New 52 one, New 52 special, also somewhat predictable. Bongo has their normal Bongo free-for-all. They do one of these every year, and it's always a lot of Simpsons comics and some things like that. Sometimes there's some Futurama in it, I think. And then we've got Image is doing something called Image 20, which is, and by the way, a lot of the time these things are kind of preview comics. Sometimes they're a full actual story. I think the Marvel one's likely to be that way. But this Image one is more showing off some of their new titles, and it's called Image 20 because this is their 20th anniversary. And then IDW is doing a Transformers book, Transformers 80.5. Of course, that's one of their biggest properties. Then for some of the silver books, so these are some of the ones you won't see everywhere. DC is putting out Superman Family Adventures. This is being done by the same people who do Tiny Titans, and I'm kind of excited about it because I think that book's hilarious, and my wife kind of wants that. Blue Water is doing... Okay, last year Blue Water did the Misadventures of Adam West. Was theirs, and they're doing a series. They've been doing this whole monthly, or I think maybe it's even bi-monthly series of the Misadventures of Adam West. Now they're following that up with Burt Ward Boy Wonder. So
that's brilliant. That's great.
Yeah, so I'm hoping to get that one. So if your comic shop gets the silver ones, you might be able to get Burt Ward Boy Wonder. Then Dark Horse is doing a Buffy one. That's it's going to have some Buffy and some Guild in it. And then we talked about Dinosaurs vs. Aliens a couple weeks ago. They're putting out probably their first issue or some of the panels from the first issue for Liquid Comics. So anyway, there's just a sneak preview there of some of the stuff coming out for Free Comic Book Day. Next on the list, so some quick Avengers news. Avengers in the States comes out next week. Now, I've seen nothing from some of the people I subscribe to and subscribe to me from Europe, but Avengers reviews, because it came out this week in Europe, which is driving me absolutely crazy because I have to be super, super careful not to see anything because I don't want to know anything. So I've not watched any reviews. I've not done anything. All I know is people are really, really raving about it. Everybody says it's better than anybody anticipated, and I also know that it's doing big guns. It's breaking records in Europe. It's doing I think it's breaking records. I know the numbers are really big so far, and one record it has already broken in America before it's even come out. It has broken the pre-sales record. It has done more pre-sales tickets than any of the other Marvel Studios movies combined. And you remember we were talking about Incredible Hulk earlier? Yeah. They didn't even count Incredible Hulk in that number because I guess it did so poorly that they didn't even bother to count it.
Maybe it was a zero.
Maybe it was zero. Yeah, maybe no one felt the need to get that in advance.
Yeah.
Like, nobody felt the need at all. And I can't blame them for that anyway, because at least, I don't know, they had their good points and their bad points.
It was a good movie.
Yeah, well, yeah. And I can't blame the studio for not doing it anymore because they already tried it twice.
Yeah, well, Well, that's the thing, though, is that it wasn't the same studio. It wasn't Fox. Fox did it before. And so, anyway. The next
studios in general.
Next item up for bid. Next item up for bid. That's a different show. The next item for the news is about Hitman. No, not the new Hitman game coming out on 360. Although I'm kind of excited about that also because I like that Hitman. But no, Garth Ennis' Hitman is being reprinted. DC is doing some hardcovers of that, and that's pretty exciting. They had some really cool crossovers. A really good Superman story actually is in Hitman. So take a look at that if you never read those. It's Garth Ennis, and I think people would be quite surprised by how good that was. The next bit of news is, this is a rumor. I don't usually do rumors on this, but I felt the need to mention this one. There's apparently a rumor going around that perhaps the next movie that the DC Direct animated line is going to do is Flashpoint, which would be really strange because that's so recent. And the reason people are thinking that might happen is because Kevin Conroy accidentally slipped that name out when he did an interview recently with Comic Book Club. I've actually interviewed the guys from Comic Book Club on Late Night, and they've talked to Kevin Conroy at least a couple times. And they recently did an interview with him, and he said, they asked him, are you doing anything for DC Direct coming up? And he said, yeah, actually, I just got done doing some stuff. I think it's for something called Flashpoint. I can't remember. Maybe it's Flashpoint. So apparently he didn't even remember what the name was, but that's what he thought it was. So that's weird news, especially because if he is doing Flashpoint... Okay, here's the thing. In Flashpoint, Flashpoint, of course, is a separate brief continuity because time got all messed up, which is what led to the New 52, Tim. And so the thing is, Batman in that universe is not Bruce Wayne, it's Bruce Wayne's father. So my question is, did Kevin Conroy come in to do 3 lines for Batman, or is he doing that Batman? See, that's what I'm wondering about. So anyway, that's weird. That's weird stuff. Next thing, this isn't comic related, but I felt the need to mention it. Muppets 2 already in the works. Fantastic. I'm excited about that because the first one was great, and I think pretty much the same people working on it. So Disney, I guess, is trying to get this out really, really quick because they really like because the first one did so well. And it's funny because the people working on it, Disney wants a 2013 release, and they're like, yeah, that's not going to happen. They're like, no, that's not going to happen. But they already have a teaser poster, so the movie is going to happen. And final bit of news, some Tick news. I can't believe that this lined up so well. Tick number 100 was released this week, and I believe this week. If not this week, then last week. And it's a Tick Invincible crossover, which is kind of funny. And you're going to hear Benito Cereno talking about this a little bit later, so that's all I wanted to mention about it. But it is available. It's $6.99, and if nothing else, you can get it on Comixology. And now it's time for a poll. Tonight's poll is different than what we usually do. Usually we do yes or no kinds of questions, but tonight I'm going to let you put down anything you want to, and I'm going to let Gloria the dinosaur work her little dinosaur fingers and write down as many things as she can write down that you come up with. So tonight's question is as follows. What comic book character would you most like to see crossed over with the Tick? The Tick is doing his first giant crossover with Invincible. Apparently, according to Benito, 101 is going to be even another crossover, but they're not telling us what it is yet. So my question to you is, in a perfect world, if you could cross over the Tick with anybody, what would be the most fun? What do you think you'd like to see? And go ahead and write those down right now, and I will come back and give the answers to the poll right after we get done with quick tweet reviews. So today's cover of the week, and it's so funny because when I was putting together the show, Tim Lyons was like, wow, that cover's awesome. And I was like, yeah, that's the cover for the week. He was like, oh, wow, well, it should be because it's awesome. So
It's true.
So the cover for this week is Incredible Hulk number 7. This is the end of the arc. Dan and I just did a review of this yesterday, and or maybe I put that up today. Actually, I think we put it up today. Anyway, but yeah, here it is, and it's just an epic cover, and it actually has everything to do with what's going on in the book. You know, you don't always get a cover this good, and then what happens in the book has anything to do with the cover, but it really does. It's actually all about this. So anyway, if you haven't been reading Incredible Hulk, what's wrong with you? You should be. It's quite good. And now it's time for 140 character tweet reviews. Here we go. All the stuff I read in the last 2 weeks, with the exception of Daredevil this week. I'm not talking about that one yet. I'm going to do that in a couple weeks because that was the end of a 3-part arc that I've not gotten the second part to yet because my comic shop was out of The Punisher last week. So anyway, everything but that, and here we go. Here is Batman Beyond Unlimited number 3. Superman Beyond starts well. Great reveal at the end. Too many stories in this book now to get very far. 3 out of 4. Avengers vs. X-Men number 2. Fighting starts hard and it's thrilling. Still don't get how Iron Man can fight Magneto. Wasting no time at all, especially for 12 issues. 3.5 out of 4. Venom, number 16. Fascinating look at criminal behavior with The Fly. Venom vs. Hobgoblin is epic. Nice to see Kingpin making waves again. 3.5 out of 4. Then we go to Amazing Spider-Man, number 684. Spidey loses his edge and has to think his way out on the fly with science. Yay! Cool reveal for Sandman, 3.5 out of 4. We actually learned something about Sandman in that issue that we never knew before, and I think it fits and is really, really cool. So I was quite impressed with Slott for coming up with it. Now we go to Ghostbusters, number 8. Really entertaining Egon story, great mystery, furthers overarching story, fantastic mythos, 4 out of 4. I sound like a broken record on this book. It's good every time. And now we get over to Aquaman, number 8. A lot of setup, but interesting. Loving the mystery surrounding Shin. Incredible full-page spread at the end. 3 out of 4. And now Ninja Turtles, number 9. Really exciting issue, setting up potentially more exciting things. Hey, Tim, they're setting up a big villain. Can you guess who it is? Love the siege on Stockton. Donatello rocks in this. 3.5 out of 4. And finally, the cover of the week, Incredible Hulk, number 7. Heavy psychology stuff really paying off at the end. Great follow-up exchange with Hulk and Doom. What a great twist. 4 out of 4. And now let's find out what the answers were for today's poll. Hey, Gloria the Dinosaur, did you work your little fingers and get us some answers for the poll?
I did.
All right, and could you share those with us, please?
Yes.
Okay, crossovers with the Tick. What are people's ideas?
3 people said Deadpool.
I agree with that one. That would be awesome.
All right.
That's just a
They
good
would
one.
have this war about which one of them is more clever, and the Tick would win hands down.
2 said Batman. And then we have some randoms. The Punisher. The DC Universe. The whole thing. Savage Dragon.
That'd be good.
Thing Fang Foom.
That would be hilarious.
MODOK.
MODOK. The
Swamp Thing.
MODOK would be like the Tick versus this giant head thing. But it wouldn't even bother him. You know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't even faze him. He's seen so many weirder things. That it's like he would rattle off all the people he's seen with different things for their heads.
That would be pretty funny. Ninja Turtles would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think that would be pretty cool, yeah.
And then Swamp Thing and the Hulk. That's it. That's everyone.
Everyone. All right.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, that's the poll for this week. Thanks a lot, guys. And now it's time for another exciting edition of Ask Captain Logan. For the next 5 minutes, I'm going to take your questions. Anything about the news we just talked about, comics in general, anything like that. Go ahead and ask me some questions. Gloria the Dinosaur is going to feed those to me. And I'm going to go back to my sandwich. It's a BLT.
Cap, do you like Superman's new costume?
I'm never eating on this show ever again. Are we talking about? I'm assuming we're talking about New 52 costume. It's okay. Honestly, I haven't. I gotta be honest with you. I haven't been a big fan of the metal costumes for all the new characters, all the armor. I think it's too busy for a comic book. I think it would look great on the screen, but I think it's just a little too busy for a comic book, and I think it's a little too limiting for what different artists can do with it. You know, when you have less of a specific design for a costume, different artists can do different things with them, and I think it's just too limiting for the different artists. So in design and concept, I think it looks great. I just feel like it's not really fair to the artist that everybody has to draw all those lines every time, that they can't do different things with those costumes.
How will you introduce Jason to comics? Using the old stuff or new stuff?
Well, what do you mean, how will I? I can't get the kid to stop grabbing all my comics. He loves them. They're everywhere. Because, you know, I sell comics, I read comics, so they're kind of all over the house, and he's constantly getting his hands on them. So I kind of imagine Jason will introduce himself to comics. No, I'm kidding. I don't want people to be like, oh, God, you're going to let him read anything. No. Probably older stuff before newer stuff, depending on what it is. There's definitely even some decent kid-friendly stuff being published right now that I'm really a big fan of, that I'd let him read, of course. But I'm not going to be that kind of parent that, you know, when he's 5 or 6, like he's only reading Tiny Titans and kind of the goofy stuff. I mean, I read that stuff, so, you know, it's fun. But yeah, you know, the kind of more family wholesome stuff, going back to the Stan Lee days, and, you know, even up through a lot of the 80s stuff, really, and even some 90s. So yeah. But probably not a lot of just straight current. Anybody seen Catwoman lately? She's biting off people's ears. Anyway.
When did Mike Tyson become Catwoman?
Good, Gloria.
I have 2 tick questions.
Well done. We can't get that on camera. We couldn't get it on camera.
Okay, it's shaking the hand.
Gloria, I'm sorry. Could you try to read the people's names who are asking the questions, just so that people get credit?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Sorry.
Night Spawn asks, what would happen if the Tick met himself?
Well, that's a really good question. You should read Benito Cereno's issues 5 and 6, because that happens. He meets a golden age version of himself in that, and you'll hear us talking about that a little bit later. But, yeah, I don't know. I think if he just met his regular self, they would kind of have a good time and pal around. I think it would be fun just to see, like, the cartoon Tick meet the live action Tick, because they're kind of different characters. So, yeah.
Zach Cody asks, what is your favorite animated Tick episode?
Oh, boy, I almost don't want to reveal it because I'm doing a top 10 for Rewind coming up this weekend. So, I'll tell you a couple of my favorites, but I don't want to just right away give away my number one because I'm going to be doing a video on it. But some of my favorites are the Tick versus the Uncommon Cold, where he meets Thracker Zog, the creature from apartment 14B, and then there's the Tick versus the Tick, where the Tick fights the Berry Tick. which is hilarious, and he goes to the Comet Club, the nightclub for superheroes, and he meets the mighty Agrippa, Lord of the Aqueduct, and things like that. And I also really like Alone Together, the episode where the Tick meets Omnipotus, who is the devourer of worlds, who's basically Galactus, and he becomes the herald of Omnipotus, who at the end, to tide himself over because the Tick won't let him eat the Earth, he bites out a part of the moon. That's a great episode. And then for the rest of the series, the moon now has a big bite taken out of it. It's great stuff. So anyway, those are some of my favorites.
Sid Part asks, have you seen The Man from Earth? It's on Netflix.
I have seen The Man from Earth. I watched it on Netflix, and that is a wonderful science fiction film. If you've ever wondered if you could get into one of these kind of existential science fiction films where it's pretty much just people sitting in a living room talking, and you wonder if that could be exciting, watch The Man from Earth, because it's amazing. And it's based on an incredible book that's pretty faithful to it as far as I'm aware. But yeah, it's quite good, and it's got the guy who played Dr. Phlox from Enterprise. His name's escaping me right now, but he's in it and he's fantastic.
You know, Moon is kind of like that, where you don't see a whole lot of action; it's just a lot of character.
I love Moon also.
You know, and that's a really great one too. I recommend.
This
that.
is even more low budget than that, and there's like
Really?
no action.
Wow.
It's pretty much all just people sitting in a living room, and it's freaking fantastic.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
You've got to watch it. I think you would really enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's mostly just people debating about things, and there's a story, and there's a real science fiction story. But it basically, without giving anything away, the basic premise is that there's a guy who claims that he's been alive since like the Stone Age, and he's trying to convince all these people that he's been alive that long. And that's pretty much the movie. Yeah, and it's really, really, really good.
Yeah, that reminds me. One of these days, I want to make John Teeter the movie. You remember that guy from the internet that claimed he was a time traveler?
No.
Oh man,
what are you talking about?
Wiki that.
All right.
You're gonna have to Google that.
Oh my gosh.
That's
I can't believe
TITOR. Yeah. Anyway.
All right.
Moving on.
Gloria, how about two more?
Okay, I have one that's a two-part. Now Know This asks, how excited for the Avengers are you? And Night Spawn wants to know if you have a ticket for it at midnight.
I'm not getting a midnight ticket. I usually try to see these things at midnight, but I'm going with my family and I think some other people on Friday, and I don't want to see it before them because I have this unfortunate tendency to give things away on accident, and I just don't want to do that. I also have this thing where I stay up really late a lot of the time, and I should be able to stay up late and not fall asleep during movies, but for whatever reason, movie theaters make me tired and make me fall asleep, and I don't want to fall asleep during the Avengers. I mean, like, I have fallen asleep during great movies that were not boring. I just was in a dark movie theater, and so I kind of conditioned myself to fall asleep. So anyway, yeah, so I'm not going to go midnight, but I am going to get advance tickets for Friday. And the other question, how excited am I for Avengers? That's my answer. I'm very excited. Like I said, all the reviews so far are acting like it's just super, super brilliant, and it's a Whedon, and we should expect no less. I was a little apprehensive about Whedon doing this at first, just because he's never done anything this big budget. But after the few things that I've heard, that I've been trying not to get details, but after the few things I've heard, I'm like, yeah, it sounds like regular Whedon, so I think it's going to be quite good. Gloria, you got anything else for me?
Well, I have 3 questions, but let me pick one. Would you like to see a Tick movie?
Who asked that?
That was from Senior Nerd.
Senior Nerd. Yes. Here's the thing about a Tick movie. A lot of people that would like to see a Tick movie say it's got to be Patrick Warburton again, and I say, unfortunately, he's just a little too old for the role. I hate that, but like the thing about it is also shows that went for 9 episodes and then got canceled do not get movies, generally. I know it kind of happened with Serenity, but that movie didn't do great either. So, I don't see it happening with the Tick. And no matter how you slice it, it wouldn't be Patrick Warburton playing another Tick. I could not really imagine it not just being that show on the big screen. So anyway, any way you slice it, it would have to be a new actor, and who would that be? I have no idea. So, but I would love to see somebody do a live-action Tick that's closer to the comics. Not that Patrick Warburton was bad. I think he was brilliant, but he had his own take on it, and I think it would be really interesting to see something closer to the actual comic book Tick. And I think it would be really cool if he could get some endorsements. If he, the real Tick, the living Tick. No, if the movie could get some endorsements from some of the products that were in the original comics that they didn't have rights to use, like Pez and Viewfinder. I think it would be amazing. Well, the Tick is obsessed with Pez in the comics, and he actually meets Paul the Samurai. I think that's who it is. On his way to get some Pez, and he also looks through his crime Viewmaster to try to find crime. And he'll see like bridge scenes and all kinds of things.
That's really cool.
I didn't realize that. I hadn't read the Tick comic. I just watched the animated show when I was a kid, and you showed me the live action one. So
Yeah, you need to see more Tick, dude. Because every time I tell you a Tick joke, you crack up, and I'm like, you got to watch this stuff. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's just brilliant. Well, hey, thanks a lot for asking me stuff, and that was a lot of fun. Now it's time to go on to tonight's interview. We're talking to Benito Cereno tonight for a full half hour. He's going to talk to us about his Tick comics, his 8-issue run on the new Tick series that ended last year, and then all the stuff coming up for the Tick. So here comes now, without further ado, the Comic Grill. Hey everybody, this is Captain Logan, and I'm here with Benito Cereno, the author of Hectoplasm, and the man who's really breathed new life into the Tick for New England comics. Benito, thanks a lot for being on the show.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Before we jump into the Comic Grill, actually the first thing I wanted to ask you is, issue 8 of the Tick new series was published last year, and when can we expect more?
The next thing that's going to be coming is actually the big Tick number 100. You might have heard about, I hope. It was supposed to be out in March. It's running a little bit late, but hopefully it'll be out by the end of April. It is, Tick 100, so it's going to be, through some kind of mathematical wizardry, it is more or less the 100th issue of the Tick as in terms of single issues. And it is a crossover with Robert Kirkman and Cory Walker's Invincible.
You're kidding.
I am not. It's going to be a big deal. It's different from anything that I've been doing on the series, and different really from anything that's come before. I think for Tick fans, it's going to be it's kind of a major turning point. I don't want to spoil anything, but it's going to be a lot of fun. The crossover is great. It should be out really soon. I was hoping it would be out this coming week, but I just saw Diamond's shipping schedule, and it looks like it will not be out next week, so I'm hoping, I guess that means it'll probably be the first week of May, I guess, hopefully. It's done. It's been done for a while. I just don't know how long it takes at the printer.
And did you write that one mostly yourself, or is there a whole lot of other people on it?
No, Tick 100 is all, the comic part of the story was all written by me, and all the art is by Les McLean, just like on the Tick New series. It's the same team.
Awesome.
There is, after the story part, a retrospective on the Tick's history for the last 25 years that was, I assume, assembled by the editorial team. I had nothing to do with that, so I'm not actually sure what all that's going to contain. But the main story is full 24 pages, all by me and Les. So,
wow, that's exciting. I'm glad I got to talk to you just before that came out.
Yeah, it's going to be a big thing. Yeah, the series has kind of been on hiatus since issue 8, basically while we got our ducks in a row for this book, since it is a crossover. There was some behind the scenes stuff that we had to take care of. You guys may or may not know this. Robert Kirkman, he has a television show, and
right.
Yeah. It's kind of popular. He doesn't have time to be answering my emails, so it's.
Yeah, I bet not.
That sounds terrible. Robert, I've known him for a long time. We're friends, but he's very busy. So it took a while kind of to get all of the behind the scenes stuff straightened out on the Tick 100, the Invincible crossover. But yeah, now it's finally coming out, and I haven't really announced this anywhere. But there will be a Tick 101 as well. So 100 will be a big deal. We're going to follow it up with 101. That's, I think, the plan is it's supposed to ship in September. It will also be a crossover. I cannot say yet with whom. It should be in the previews. Not this next coming previews catalog, but the one after. So not the one that'll come out at the end of at the end of April, but the one that should come out at the end of May, I think, for books shipping in September. So you can see that there, or you can keep an eye on my Twitter or Tumblr, I'm sure I'll be talking about Tick 101 as soon as news for that is available. But it will also be a crossover.
And that's really cool because the Tick hasn't had a whole lot of crossovers.
No, not really. None. Certainly none in the Tick's own title. He might have popped up. I know there's that book, War of the Independents or whatever, that had like literally 200 independent characters, and the Tick is in the background in a couple of them. Believe me, every time I did an interview about Tick 100 and I was like, this is his first major crossover, someone was like, actually, let me tell you about this other book that blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, but I wouldn't call that major.
Yeah, right. So, yeah, certainly not within the Tick's own title. That has not happened before. So, yeah, it's something of a big deal. And
yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it should be great. And yeah, so to have 2 crossovers in a row, and I'm not saying anything, but there might be 3 crossovers in a row. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Now, are you going to go back to the old numbering system for the Tick New series after that, or should we expect something else even entirely separate from that?
I have 0 input on that.
So you don't even know if there's going to be a 9?
No, I think probably, well, it's certainly going to go from issue 100 to issue 101. That's for sure. And then it'll be, the next one would be 102. So you're going to stay with that numbering system.
So
I think they're going to stick with that numbering rather than going back to the new series title and that numbering. But like I said, I don't really, that's all internal editorial stuff that I don't really have a lot of input in.
But they are going to keep you on board.
For now, if the book keeps selling, so hopefully everyone out there,
I hope so.
Hopefully everyone out there that's listening will pre-order these books, because I mean the Tick is a book that really, it lives or dies by the pre-order sales, people asking their retailers for it, and yeah, the more people we have pre-order 101, the more likely it is there will be a 102, but the more likely it is there will be a 102 and a 103 and so on. So hopefully people are asking their retailers, or if they don't have a local retailer, ordering online from any kind of service. DCBS, I know, does discounts on the issues and everything. So that kind of thing, if you don't have a local comic store, or your local comic store is not willing for whatever reason to pre-order independent titles, or if just the regular retail price is more than you want to pay for the book, you can find it at discounts on online retailers. Doing that kind of stuff ahead of time really ensures that more issues will come out. So it's very important, really, that people let their retailers know ahead of time that they want the Tick.
Yeah, and it's fantastic. So for my viewers and listeners that have not been reading it, do go back and get some of those early issues. And what's great about your book, Benito, is that most of them are single stories that you don't necessarily have to have read any of the rest of it, with maybe the exception of the Golden Age crossover.
Yeah, that is true, and that is more or less by design, because of the fact that it's hard to say how sales are going to be from issue to issue. We wanted to be such a thing that if we needed to put it on hiatus for a year, like we did, it wouldn't be in the middle of a storyline. So, each issue, with the exception of the 2-part Golden Age story from 5 and 6, really is standalone. There are some running subplots throughout the series. Things go, Chairface, Chippendale in prison. There's a mysterious shadow guy who shows up in issue 1 who is in the prison, and he tried to kill the Tick, and we don't know who that guy is. A lot of those running plot threads come to a head and kind of get wrapped up in issue 100. So you don't need to have,
oh wow, okay.
You don't need to have read the new series. You don't need to have read any of the previous issues. There's it's clear what's going on, but issue 100 really ties up a lot of stuff from the 8 issues of the new series. So yeah, if you're wondering what's going on with Chairface in the prison and that kind of stuff, and there's callbacks to a lot of different issues, because you see, Invincible is there, and he's being introduced to the Tick's world. So someone who hasn't read it before is also, kind of gently introduced that way. So there's a lot of callbacks to the series that will be funny for people who've read the series, but it also serves as an introduction for someone who's never read the Tick before, or my Tick before at least. So.
Benito, how much of a fan of the Tick were you before you got on the series?
Pretty big. I was in high school or middle school, or moving from middle school to high school when the cartoon started, which is probably the exact age for that for a show like that to really.
Absolutely, yeah. That puts you just a few years older than me.
Yeah, I had. I was in the Fox Kids Club. I don't know.
So was I. Oh yeah, I remember that.
So in the Fox Kids Club, I would get the magazine in the mail, and I remember being really excited by. I think there were some Tick comics in those, but they weren't from. They weren't the actual comics. They were made specifically for the Fox Kids Club magazine. But yeah, that actually Fox Kids Club helped me get into comics to begin with. Actually, because I had the card, and where I lived, you could use the card to get a free comic from a local comic store, and I used it, and I got some issue with Fantastic Four. It was one of the first comics I ever got. It made no sense whatsoever. It was like, I think it was right before Walt Simonson's run on the Fantastic Four, and if I had gotten one of those, holy crap, that would have been amazing. But I had this super confusing, like, alternate reality dream sequence where all the Fantastic Four were in these, like, cryogenic tubes or something, and I don't even know, like, what happened, because I was so confused by it. I didn't get the next issue, but I was convinced somehow by, like, the teaser at the end that the next issue was going to be the last issue of the Fantastic Four, because the teaser was like, next month, the end of the Fantastic Four, ? And and so I was like, oh man, that next issue is going to be the last one, and it would have been like 333 or something like that, and then sometime later I saw issue 350, and I was like, wait a second, I got bamboozled.
Oh, it's all about the gullibility tactics for new comic readers.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And of course, it didn't occur to me at the time. I'm, 10 or 11 years old or whatever at this comic shop, going through this box of books that they're offering for free to the Fox Kids Club. It didn't occur to me, oh, these are all the really crappy comics that they have. All I knew as a kid, I was flipping through and I'm going, who the hell is Alpha Flight? And why are there so many Alpha Flight comics in this box? And that's how I ended up picking a really confusing issue of Fantastic Four. That had nothing to do with the Tick, but as long as we were talking about the Fox Kids Club. But yeah, getting back to me as a Tick fan, I guess. Yeah, I was really into the show as it was originally airing. I managed to get into the comics because there was a really great comic store where I lived when I was in high school, and I was able to pick up a couple of the omnibus editions. So I had the first one I managed to get was, I think, probably the best little run of the issues from the Van Edlund series, which is the ones where Tick and Arthur are out on the road and they run into the Chainsaw Vigilante and they go to the town of Monolith and all that stuff. So it's the one that contains like that. Oh, and it's also got the first Chairface issue. So like even though it's from the middle of the run, I think it's like issues 7 through 10 or something like that. It's it's a really good introduction to the characters. I managed to pick up the other ones a bunch of single issues later. I also had the omnibus edition of the Tick's Giant Circus of the Mighty, and so
right.
Yeah, and then
so you learned who all those random characters were, even though you didn't read the comics.
Even though I didn't have all the I ended up getting piecemeal most of the original Tick series, either between the omnibus editions that they had in stock at the store or whatever back issues they had. But yeah, so I hadn't read some of the things like Paula Samurai. I did read Man-Eating Cow in high school. I think a friend of mine picked up. They used to publish. They called them Bonanza editions that would just have like 3 issues collected in a big saddle stitch book. And my friend had picked up the Man-Eating Cow Bonanza edition, and we would read that in study hall in high school. I read a lot of comics in study hall in high school. But yeah, I had gotten really into independent, especially black and white comics when I was in high school, because it was kind of my reaction to I mean, this was a couple years after like the Clone Saga, but like when that kind of stuff was happening, and then I had been reading X-Men and that kind of stuff, and I was like, I feel like there are better things, and I ended up experimenting with tons of different books, and got into a lot of black and white stuff, including The Tick. Also, books like Scud the Disposable Assassin, which was another kind of big early influence on me. I don't know if you've ever read that.
I've read a little bit of it, yeah.
Yeah, that one is worth hunting down. There's a collection called The Whole Shebang that you can get from Image. I think it's probably still in print. I don't know, but it collects the entire series. It took 10 years. I was this big Scud fan, and he left it on Rob Schraub or Schrab. I'm not sure how you pronounce his last name, but he left it on a cliffhanger with one issue to go for literally 10 years.
Gee, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, right? Yeah. But then he decided to come back and finish it at Image, and instead of doing one issue, he said it's a little too big to do as one issue, so he did 4 more issues, which were all, instead of being like 21, 22, 23, 24, were like 21A, 21B, I think. I might be wrong about that. But anyway, they ended up collecting the whole thing in a big fat book. It is totally worth getting. It's very, very funny. The comic is by Rob Schrab, who he was like the director of the Sarah Silverman program, and the other writer is Dan Harmon, who people may know from Community, the creator of Community.
Wow.
He used to write comics about a robot who killed people for money, and they're very funny. It's not a dissimilar sense of humor to The Tick, except it's darker because it is about doing murders. So it's a comedy about killing people and robots and exploding and the apocalypse also. But very enjoyable. And so if Tick fans would probably enjoy it as well if they have not read it.
One of the things I really like about your series is that you've used a lot of the really obscure heroes and villains from especially Edlund's run, but other places, and then like expounded on them. Who would you say is your favorite lesser known Tick hero and your favorite lesser known villain?
Oh wow, that is a good question. Yeah, I've really tried to incorporate elements and characters not just from the Edlund run, but from all the subsequent stuff. Like I said back in high school, I only had kind of a piecemeal collection. Currently, I have everything. So I have and have read every published issue of The Tick, and so and I feel one of the things is
including the tax day issue.
Including the tax day issue. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's it's very easy now.
I've never read that, but I just thought it was really funny that existed.
Yeah. 1 year.
I don't have everything. I'm close. I'm at maybe 70%.
Well, it's really easy now to get everything because NEC's been putting out these complete works editions.
Yeah.
In like 10 fat trades, you can get everything except the Mongolicious Tick, which I admit I haven't read all of that, so I actually haven't read everything.
Oh, I've never even heard of that. Okay.
Yeah, that was the last thing that came out before the new series started. It was a 4-issue black and white.
Okay. See, I didn't realize there was anything between that and the 20th anniversary edition.
Yes. So there was, the 20th anniversary edition, then they did the 4-issue miniseries. Yeah, it was called Mongolicious Tick, The Rise of the Setting Sun was the name of it. So that was the last thing that came out before the new series. So that's like the only, that and the 20th anniversary book, I think, are the only thing besides the new series stuff that are not collected in those complete works books. So you can get, there's the complete Edlund, then there's one that's got all the Eli Stone stuff. The Sean Wang stuff is collected over the course of 2 books. One of them has, 1 year they just did all holiday specials, right? And so that's where the tax day special came out.
Okay, cool.
Because they did a Christmas one, and then they did a Mother's Day, Father's Day. That's not in chronological order. They had Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day, I've got that one.
Yeah, and there was kind of a running plot through some of them. Because
that's what I heard. Yeah,
they had several different creative teams kind of working on those concurrently. So it's a little difficult to kind of work out the order of issues. This is completely not answering your question.
No, that's okay. But the question was favorite really obscure hero and villain.
Oh man, really obscure. I don't know. The guy who looks like Peter Lorre. I like that guy.
I forgot about that one.
I don't think I used him. It's possible that Les drew him in the background of issue 100, but I can't remember because a lot of Chairface's guys are in there. I really like the Chainsaw Vigilante. He's not super obscure unless you're strictly a cartoon fan, because of course he wasn't on the cartoon.
You wouldn't know that, yeah.
And it's really a shame to me that I only got to use him in like 3 panels.
Yeah.
I mean, I could.
I was going to ask, like, are you allowed to use him, or did you just not have a place to put him? You can do anything from comics that's not from TV, right?
Right. I can use any of the characters that originally appeared in the comics. I can't use any of the cartoon characters, so no Deflator Mouse and no American Made.
American Made, yeah.
I can't use Batman, right? And
so what's really funny about that is if you want, and I don't think you have, but if you wanted to, you could do the comic version of Thracker's Og, but not the other version.
That's right.
Because they're kind of different characters.
They are a little bit, and because Thracker's Og appears in the first Tick Color issue, the first issue of what they call the Tick Color series, and I think he's pink instead of green. I don't know if that is at all related.
You're gonna think this is hilarious that I even know this, but in the Genesis and Super Nintendo game, Thracker's Og was in that, and he was pink in that, and that was. I don't know if that was before or after the Color series, but if it was before it, then they had already decided that was his color.
Yeah, that would almost definitely have been before. The Color series is relatively late. It's certainly from the 2000s.
Okay. So I wonder when the decision to make him pink happened.
No idea how that is long before
Interesting.
my time. So I don't know. All right.
Well, how did you come up with Scarface?
Scarface. That was something of a collaboration between Les and myself. We've frequently bounced ideas off of each other, and which is my polite way of saying he'll come up with something that he draws on the cover, and then I will steal that idea and incorporate it into the issue.
Cool.
Which happened with a ton of characters in issue 4, which is the underwater issue. Like, he drew just a million guys on the cover that were hilarious, and so they ended up inside. They were not my idea. Plenty of the characters that are in the issue were my idea, but lots of them that I used in issue 4 were Les's idea. He even suggested names for a lot of them. But Scarface came about because when Les and I were first talking about the issue, and it's we were working on the first issue. We didn't really know how we were going to approach the book and what we were going to do. I think it shows a little bit that issue 1 is almost completely tonally different from the rest of the series. Because
that's true.
Because we were trying to find our ground, and that one really feels more like we were trying to do an episode of the cartoon, whereas I feel like the rest of the series feels more like us doing our own kind of thing. But
I thought it was a little strange that was also the Christmas special for that year.
Yeah.
Being like the issue to set up the whole tone of your book, and it really came off as a one-shot Christmas special.
It kind of did.
It was good. I enjoyed it, but it is different from the rest of it.
It's fine. I acknowledge that it's the worst issue of the series. I still
thought it was funny.
You don't have to say it. Anyway, so we're trying to figure it out, and I say, all right, Les, we're going to do this Christmas story. They want to do a Christmas story for the first issue. My idea is that a bunch of people would be telling flashbacks to different Christmas-related capers. What do you want to draw? And he said, there has to be one based around crazy Christmas sweaters, right? And so since he wanted to do a crazy Christmas sweater subplot, I tried to figure out, who of the existing villains, could do that, right? I managed to, I was like, well, we could do Mistletoe. Who could do that? Is there a plant person? No, because I can't use Elseed.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So I ended up using Chrome Dome, which is fine. But then I was like, there's no, fiber-related villain. I thought about the fuzzy person, but I was like, that is a stretch. For sure.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just got to make a new character and act as if she's been around for a while. My girlfriend is a very intense, serious knitter, and her friends are all intense, serious knitters. And so the character of Scarface, which I will enunciate more clearly for those who have not read the book, Scarface, right, is based on everyone I know who knits, in terms of the fact that knitting is the most important thing. If they are currently touching string, you could be bleeding out, and they would wait until they finished the row they were working on before picking up the phone to call the police, right? So, yeah, my idea about Scarface is not so much that, that she's unusual. She's in fact just what every knitter would be if they had the means, right? So they would just be constantly taking in yarn, seeking it out, trying to destroy society to create nothing but time for them to use the yarn that they've appropriated.
That's awesome. I had no idea when I wrote that question down that you were going to have that good of an answer.
Yeah, well, that's what happened. It took me forever to come up with the name, by the way.
It's a great name, though.
And then one day,
that's so classic Tick. I mean, it's really funny.
I was just walking. It was Target probably, and I was just walking down the aisle, and I went, "Oh my God, Scarface!" And then I told my girlfriend. And normally, when I come up with a pun or something, she groans. That's usually how I know a joke is good enough to go in the book. If she hates it, that's how I know it goes in. But this one, I was like, she knew I'd been thinking all day trying to come up with a name. And so when I finally just went, wait, in the middle of the aisle at Target, I just went, wait, Scarface. And she goes, oh my God. And we high-fived at Target. And,
that's awesome.
And that is the origin of Scarface. Yeah.
How much research did you find yourself doing when you did the Golden Age crossover in paying homage to 1940s era comics, or did you manage to come up with all that off the top of your head?
I have read a lot of comics from all sorts of eras. I am a kind of person who reads all kinds of comics, and so I didn't have to do a whole lot of research. I just had to pull some comics I had already read off of my shelf to check it out. Some of the stuff that's in that storyline is from they did a 3-issue miniseries called Tick Golden Age.
Right.
So something similar to that version of Tick and Arthur appeared in that storyline. A lot of the other characters that I used as well were some were from that. Queen Hornet, for example, was from that storyline. Some were from the original Tick series. He talks about being kind of the Golden Age heroes like the Sultan and Ulysses Bang, who had not really done anything. That's my answer retroactively. Best obscure hero is Ulysses Bang, by the way.
Oh, okay, yeah. He was hilarious. That's the guy who shoots people with his fingers, right?
Yeah. I made that part up because he.
But it's hilarious. He's got the finger gun, and then he holds it to people's head, and then they're like, and then they know that it actually works, and they're like, "Oh no! Don't shoot me in the head with your fingers."
Yeah, I thought, why would he? I was trying to come up with a good reason for him to be called Ulysses Bang, but yeah, because he really only appears in one panel in Edlund's Tick, and it's not even a panel that he's really in. It's a photograph of him with the Sultan and the Visible Man, who also doesn't really appear.
Oh, that's who that is. Okay.
Yeah, and also, side note, Visible Man is Les McLean's least favorite character to draw.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, because he's got to draw all the organs and everything. But yeah, so some of the Golden Age stuff is taken from the actual Tick Golden Age series. A lot of it's based on Golden Age comics I've actually read. I had a volume of Plastic Man archives next to me. I think Jack Cole's Plastic Man holds up better than probably any other Golden Age comics. They're just, I mean, even today they're really sharp. You know, they're not completely modern. There is, artifacts of the fact that it's from the 40s, but the writing is really sharp. It's very clever. The cartooning is great.
I've never read that.
You totally should seek it out. The problem is, as far as I know, the only place you really can get it is in the DC Archive editions, which are like $50 each.
Okay, sure.
But
if they're that good,
it's if you can find one at like a used bookstore for half off or something, it's worth it, really. I mean, if you're interested in Golden Age, but if you haven't read Golden Age comics before and you start with Plastic Man, don't expect them to all be that refined, because a lot of Golden Age books are pretty crude.
Yeah.
But so I tried to incorporate the feel, like the kind of heavy captioning and that kind of stuff. One bit that I don't know how much it came across. Once the characters from the different time periods cross over, they kind of take the captions with them or not, right? Like when Modern Age Tick is in the Golden Age, if he's kind of the leading action in the panel, there's no caption. But if anyone else is kind of doing something, it's narrated in a caption. And then when Golden Age Tick goes to the present, when he's the driving force in the action, there's a narrative caption, but not for any other character in the present. So that's a dumb joke that I thought I would explain, because
I liked it.
I thought it was probably too obscure for anybody to notice, but
I also want to say that for anybody listening who again has not read any of Benito's issues, I would say that if you read none of the rest of the series, read 5 and 6.
Oh yeah, are those?
But I just want to say that they're my favorite. I think they're great. But part of that's because I love the Terror.
Yeah.
But I'm just giving my opinion about your work. Is that okay?
That's acceptable. I'm actually, one of the things I like.
Are they not your favorites?
No. I really like issue 6. Especially, I really like the way the Terror. His voice, I think, came out really well.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I'm happy with. All right, I'm going to say this on your show, because I really like number 6, except there were 2 things that were changed. One, I understand. The Tick, there's a scene where the Tick sings karaoke, right? They changed one of the lines that he was supposed to be singing. They changed it because they were worried about it being too close to real song lyrics, right? Sure. There's a line in the book as published about him singing about calamine lotion, neat calamine, whatever. It was originally supposed to be him singing "Sweet Child of Mine, Good Times Never Seem So Good," right? And the joke is that he confused Sweet Caroline and Sweet Child of Mine. It's a dumb joke, right? But that was the original joke. But at the last second, they kind of got scared that was too many lyrics from other songs, and so they replaced it. So that was one thing in issue 6 that got changed in post production. And the other one, the other one that kills me is because I don't know if they thought it was a typo or what. And again, I'm not saying anything against them, because it might look like a typo. Possibly they might have thought someone would get offended. I don't know. But there's a part where the Modern Age Tick and the Golden Age Tick were kind of competing about snappy lines, right? He's like, "Fuller Brush Man, did you get that from Dinosaur?" or whatever. And then the line is published, the Tick knocks down the Terror's thing and then goes, "Have you heard about Jehovah's Witness?" And that is a worse line. That is worse than Fuller Brush Man. Right? It's not even a joke, right? That's how it is as published. That's not how I wrote it.
Oh, weird.
In the script, he says, "Have you heard about Jehovah's Wetness?" is the line.
Oh. And
so I don't know if they thought it was a typo, or if they thought someone...
Or if it was going too far?
Or if they thought someone would be upset at the idea of a deity being moist. So I don't know. But
I don't know what's offensive about that. Okay.
It's not really, but I mean,
that's so offensive.
If you think about it, it's not offensive. But if you just hear it, you go, "Wait a second, Jehovah's Witness. That's not right." So I honestly don't know, because I never thought even to ask them why they changed it. But they did, and that's my one That's my one real beef with issue 6, because it's like, oh, Jehovah's Witness, that's a funny joke, and they changed it to something that's not even a joke. So,
but that's one of those things, of course, that because you wrote it, but nobody else would even know that.
Yeah. Well, finally, I have a forum wherein I can let people know.
If we can get a whole bunch of people to listen to this interview, then they'll know that was the joke.
Yeah. But yeah, there you go. So I'm glad you like 5 and 6. My favorite issue is 7. Is issue.
Okay.
7. Yeah. It's the second Christmas one.
Yeah. Well, Benito, last question.
All right.
And thanks a lot for doing this. This has been a whole lot of fun, and I appreciate all the insight. This is not related to your work, but I just got to ask you because you're such a big Tick guy.
All right.
Patrick Warburton or Townsend Coleman?
It's got to be Townsend Coleman. I love Patrick Warburton. He is great. He's absolutely great. But the voice I hear in my head when I write the Tick is a weird mashup of Townsend Coleman and my own voice, and that's what I hear. The Patrick Warburton Tick is great, but it's almost a completely different character from the show and the cart.
It's really understated compared to the comics.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And he is great, and I did not get to go to San Diego last year, but Les McLean was texting me, and he said, I just met Patrick Warburton at the NEC booth, and I was like,
Oh, man, that's cool. I didn't know he was there.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, Benito, thanks again for being on. This was a
pleasure.
Whole lot of fun, man, and feel free to come back anytime when you've got any other big projects coming out or anything like that. Everybody be sure to check out Tick 100 and 101 and everything that comes out after that. I know I will. And now, back to the show. Thanks again, man.
Thanks a lot.
And now it's time for a message. It's going to be one of the only things that is not Tick-related, but this is a commercial that I can clearly remember seeing while I was watching the animated Tick show when I was a kid. Here it is.
I must have that new Sega Power Rangers game. Goldar, steal it for me.
No wonder Rita wants that game. Look at those graphics.
Woo, and those moves.
Check out those battle zones. Let's go, Goldar. Sorry, Rita. You'll have to buy it like everyone else.
Huh? Sega.
Power Rangers for Sega Genesis. Also available for Game Gear and Sega CD. All sold separately.
I gotta get Tim's immediate reaction. Here we go.
Awesome.
Oh, all right.
Nothing wrong with that.
I just like Reed Repulsa going, Saga. Okay. And now it's time for another exciting edition of Obscure Character of the Week. Today's Obscure Character of the Week is brought to you by Drama Flakes. Taste me! That's the Drama Flakes Tasty Challenge. And here comes Obscure Character of the Week. Tim, today's Obscure Character of the Week is so obscure that I did not hear of him before I read it in this book. That's how obscure this is. It's like a one-panel kind of character in a Tick comic, and I found this character in the Tick Circus of the Mighty. I mentioned this on a show last week. This is kind of the Tick encyclopedia, comic book encyclopedia, at least for everything that came before this. So it's mostly the Edlund stuff and a couple other things, and Man-Eating Cow and Chainsaw Vigilante and stuff like that. And anyway, I wanted to mention one of these guys because I thought it was hilarious, and instead of just talking about it like I usually do, I'm actually going to read the entry in this because I think it's so funny that I think it's worth reading. So here it is. Here is Hand Grenade Man.
Ah, brilliant.
So I'm just going to read everything it says about Hand Grenade Man. His real name is Francis Deal. It says clever nicknames. No nicknames. People don't fool around with you when you have a hand grenade. Marital status, divorce, paying alimony, height 5'9", weight 185 pounds, 183 pounds without grenade. Arch enemy none. His catchphrase is, I'll do it! And his superhero-ness, much like the ant, Hand Grenade Man is a hero who depends on gadgets for his superhero-ness. Hand Grenade Man only has one such gadget, but it's all he needs. He accomplishes all his aims by threatening to detonate a grenade he smuggled out of Fort Dix when he was a supply sergeant in the U.S. Army. Although he has never done anything to substantiate his threats, something about his tone denotes frightening conviction and no small amount of menace. He really looks as if he's about to do it. He has successfully stopped many crimes in progress and brought tens of criminals to justice through his method. Hand Grenade Man acts ornery and wild, but deep down inside he has a heart of gold. He runs a pawn shop in Brooklyn where he gets much of his inside information on the movement and workings of the vast criminal system. He is the most streetwise of his superhero circle. So anyway, that's Hand Grenade Man. I didn't think I would come up with a more obscure Tick character than Hand Grenade Man. Hey, if you have an idea for obscure character of the week or something you'd like to hear me talk about on the show, maybe some fan art you want to show off, anything cool like that, you can always personal message me at Geekvolution, and I'd love to hear from you. You can also send me a message if you prefer to at wearegeeksnotnerds.com. Still some bugs there. Or if you want to send us anything, you can go to Geekvolution, P.O. Box 14183, Lenexa, Kansas 66285. We always take donations for comic books and things like that. If you're just trying to get rid of some stuff in your basement, or if there's anything you want to see me review, you can always send us things at the P.O. Box. There's the P.O. Box. Oh, man. It's like working out of a cardboard box, Tim. And now it's time to find out what I've pulled from the ever-ominous comic book vault. Today on the Comic Vault, we're going to look at something really strange. It's the Tick Big Romantic Adventure. This is a one-shot. I wanted to pull something that was just one issue. One of these, Benito and I were talking about some of these, like the Tax Day issue and things like that. So here's the Tick Big Romantic Adventure. This was published in the late 90s, I want to say 98, 99. I should have looked that up to be sure, but I think it's around 98, 99. And it was a kind of their Valentine's Day special. So this was kind of weird. It read a little bit more like an animated episode to me, but basically what it does is it opens with the Tick and Arthur fighting this guy who's got a gumball machine for a head, who seems to me like he's maybe making fun a little bit of a Mysterio from Spider-Man, and I just like the idea of this guy with this big gumball for his head. And he gets Arthur stuck in hard candy, and Arthur has to eat his way out of hard candy. And the Tick's like, you gotta eat your way out. And he's like, I just did that the other day with fish, and I'm already stuffed, and I don't want to do that. And it's kind of funny. So anyway, to make a long story short, what ends up happening is the Tick has this big thing about how like he hates Valentine's Day and he hates love and he doesn't like all that stuff, and he thinks he should just be able to beat up people senselessly, and that's the answer to all of his problems. So naturally, when you have a plot like that and you got a Valentine's Day special, the most predictable thing you can possibly do is have the Tick get a Valentine. So anyway, sorry, we had this problem again. So the Tick ends up getting a Valentine from somebody who makes him a love potion, who's this mad scientist, or a scientist who's not evil but just thinks that the Tick would be a better superhero if he had more feelings. So he gets a love potion on him, which it was a really, really fun comic to me until we got to this point, and it was still fun, but I was just like, that's the most predictable thing you can do at a Valentine's thing. Like how many TV shows have you seen that have Valentine's Day specials where it's always like a love potion? I think Smallville did it twice. So anyway, but that's what happens. But I don't know. There is some comedy mileage that comes from it. There's this like old homeless lady who the Tick falls in love with, who he starts carrying around and taking to places. And he tries to double date with her and Arthur and his new girlfriend, and of course that doesn't work out very well. And this woman just drinks all their beer and everything, and yeah, it's bizarre. And so anyway, basically what ends up happening is there's this other subplot going on where there's this guy who has a whole lot of acne, and he ends up getting in a lab accident at school, and he becomes Acne Jack, and he becomes this big giant who's infected with this giant acne. And the Tick, because he's all like now in touch with his feelings because of this love potion, manages to use his words to talk this guy down instead of fighting him, and that's kind of the bizarre, unusual moral of the story. And that's pretty much the comic. That's pretty much what happens in it. So yeah, that's today's comic of the week. Now I almost said obscure comic of the week. I think this time that kind of qualifies. So anyway, yeah, that was that. Kind of bizarre. Let's go ahead now and find out what the year the Batmobile was from. And today's Batmobile was from 2012. That was actually from this year. It's from Batman and Robin number 5. You'll notice that it looks a whole lot like a light cycle from Tron.
Yep.
and that's what it is. Well, hey, everybody, thanks a lot for watching Comic Book Late Night. Hope you had a really good time with us. We sure did. I want to thank Benito Cereno once again for being on the program, and we hope to have him again sometime down the road. Be sure to support your local comic book store. Thanks as always for watching. We'll be back again in 2 weeks. And remember, eating kittens is just plain wrong, and no one should do it. Ever. Say bye, Tim and Gloria.
Bye.
Bye.
Don't eat kittens.
Don't eat that's gross.
Yeah, I know.